I'm delighted to welcome you all to this ConnecTALKS Artificial Intelligence Threats or Opportunity. We've got a great session in store, so we're going to get underway. 2023 will go down in history in the year that AI revolutionized the world. Some see it as the end of entire disciplines, but others see it as a massive opportunity. This Connect Talk is about how to navigate these changes in a way that makes us more relevant, more useful, and more connected to our most valued customers. So we're thrilled to be joined by digital marketing expert Franc Carreras, who is one of the most influential thought leaders in tech and is often featured in leading business publications in Spain. Frank will be guiding us through an interactive session to help us understand how AI could impact our industry. So without further ado, please welcome Frank.
Thank you, Alyssa. Can you hear me? Hello? Yes?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have to be, I'm very excited to be here, and I think I am in the right room because in addition to teaching and owning a business, a digital business, I also own a small luxury business. I'm the owner of a small catamaran, very private, very exclusive, that does day charters here in Barcelona. So in addition to sharing, I hope I can also learn something from you throughout the day. So I'm very glad to be here. So I'm going to start, well, I always like to start with a story, but this time I'm going to start with two. Is that okay with you? Yeah, you ready for a story? Well, as you very well know, reaching the moon has been one of the longest dreams of humanity for thousands of years, right? We've always looked at the moon and thought it was something interesting that maybe someday we would reach. As you very well know, by the end of World War II, a number of technologies made it possible for that to become a reality. And as you know, two countries started to compete for that important landmark in the history of humanity. And in 1969, men walked on the moon for the first time. I was going to say, do you remember that? But yeah. Obviously, you don't. Not all of you remember that, right? But this was a big accomplishment. However, we haven't gone back since. In fact, if you look at the news right now, it looks like maybe 60 years later, there will be another opportunity for us to step back on the moon, right? So sometimes challenges like this cannot be achieved unless we find the will, the resources, and sometimes also the technologies that are needed. I have another story for you that's a little bit different. I don't know if you know how Xerox, a company that made up the machines that make copies, well, that used to make copies, now we don't need them anymore, how it all got started. By the year 1969, Xerox came up with the first machine to make copies. There's an interesting lesson behind that too. They needed funding to distribute and market this machine. And they didn't have it, so they were looking for investors. It is known that they went to IBM and they asked for their support. You know what IBM did at that time? They hired a consulting agency and they asked them to look at the market of copies. The carbon copy was the way that things were being done at the time. And IBM looked at that and they said, it's not a big enough market for us to really invest in it. So they declined. It's no surprise to you now that that was a big mistake by IBM because Xerox went on to lead and own that space for many, many years. They had to do it on their own and they succeeded. The lesson there is that when new technologies are so revolutionary that they cut the cost down to almost zero, anything that they're doing, it opens up the gates to massive increases and new use cases that we would have never imagined before. Now, I'm going to take these two lessons as the basis of what I'm going to explain next, because we should all feel very, very lucky to be alive today. I always start my classes asking, what do you think is the most important thing that's happened in tech in the last few years or last few months? If I asked you, what do you think is the most important advance that's taking place in tech this year, what would you say? I hear someone say AI. Anyone has anything different to say?
Stem cells.
Stem cells, okay, could be. There is a new revolution that started yesterday, guys. Were you too busy here to find out, to know about it? Exactly. Apple announced its first goggles for augmented reality. I think This will not take place until next year. But up until today, I would have said AI. So thank you for those of you that said AI, which is the topic of today. But everything goes so fast that we're now in a world that we can witness and experience these new changes in first person. And we should be happy about that, right? So in November, actually it was the 30th of November of 2022, because this revolution is already last year's revolution. This tweet started up a storm worldwide. It was a simple tweet by the founder of OpenAI saying, "Today we launched ChatGPT. Just talk to it, experiment." And a lot of us did. And everything changed since then. The current CEO of Google, which by the way competes with OpenAI in a certain way, it's what's probably the company that's most threatened by this change, characterizes it as a more profound impact than fire, electricity, or the internet. Imagine. This is a graph that shows searches on Google for the word ChatGPT. Nobody was talking about that before that. GPT existed, by the way. A few experts in AI were already experiencing it, but we didn't know what it was. This is all happening in the last 6 months. We asked some of you what stage you were in your AI journey. You answered that. Thank you for that. And half the people in this room have already dabbled or love it already and are experiencing it, right? Raise your hand if you're one of those. Okay, get ready to volunteer because I'm going to ask one or two of you to come up and show it to me, okay? But not yet. Let's talk about how this impacts our business and how this could be something really positive. Of course, some of you haven't, and it's okay. It's only been 6 months. That's nothing compared to the amount of years and time that we will be using this as something normal in our day-to-day. So we saw what the head of Google thinks about it, but we've also seen headlines like this. And it's understandable, right? Some people think that AI poses a big risk of extinction. It could be, the end of the world. It could remove jobs. A lot of people are worried about losing their jobs because of it. Well, I'd like you to think again and look at it in a different way. What we're really talking about here is what we call generative AI. Here's a definition that I think explains it very well. So I'm going to take you through it. It's a type of artificial intelligence capable of generating text, images, sound, all kinds of media out of nowhere using prompts. Get used to this word. Those of you that have tried it already know what it is. Those of you that probably have not, we will be hearing about prompts a lot, and you will be experiencing with them in a second, right? What it does really is only learn from patterns. It learns automatically from a big database of information that's already been published, and it tries to predict what would be most likely to be done by a human, all right? This is very important to understand. We are not anywhere near machines taking over the world, okay? I'm happy to be able to say this here, surrounded by businessmen and women, because we have no time to waste thinking about conspiracy theories or thinking about sci-fi like movies have done for us many, many years. This is an opportunity for us, and we have to look at it for what it is. And it only is a system that is capable of recreating from a small message saying what we want based on all the collective knowledge that's been put out there before, okay? Here's a phrase that summarizes this very well. Ronnie Brooks was in charge of MIT labs for a very long time, and he says artificial intelligence is a tool. It is not a threat, okay? So let's not waste any more time with that. Do we agree with that? Okay. Now, here's another example of that. Kate Crawford is a researcher that says AI is neither artificial nor intelligent. This is where the marketing guys get too good at their job and label something as important as this with the wrong name, because it's true. It's not artificial. First of all, because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It actually takes up resources, and it happens in physical servers that take up a lot of energy and that take up a lot of space also. So it's not really artificial, and most importantly, it's not intelligent. It just looks intelligent. And those of you that have tried it have had that feeling. I'm talking to someone. I'm talking to a machine. It's answering back. You know, at the end of the day, ChatGPT isn't sentient. It's a next word prediction engine. This is an article on Wire on Computer World, actually, from Ernst and Young. Ernst and Young is trying to help companies leverage this, and the first thing they have to say is, "Be careful. We're not talking about intelligence. We're just talking about systems that generate content for us, right?" So let's briefly go over exactly what it is, a few examples, capabilities, and limitations. I'm not making this up. This is actually out there as the introduction when you start using ChatGPT for the first time, right? So things that we can do with this technology include summarizing and explaining complex things in very simple words. In fact, one of the most fun things to do is ask for something really complicated and say, explain it like you're doing it for a 5-year-old. And it does, okay? The next thing it's really useful for is get creative. All of us here in our jobs have been sitting at a white piece of paper thinking, what else do I have to put? What am I right about? You know, what more ideas can I get? You can ask to come up with ideas on any subject and use them to inspire you to come up with your own, to complete your list, or to try to do better with the things that you haven't come up with, okay? Another great use of that. Or even it can help you code. I'm not sure there's anyone in the room here that needs that, but just you should know that when you hire people to code, now they have some assistance that's really helpful and makes them even more productive, right? What are the capabilities? It remembers what you've said in the past. So you can actually have a dialogue and improve the output based on new inputs that you provide as you're interacting with it, okay? It allows you to provide follow-up corrections as well and say, no, I didn't mean that. Or can you change it? Or can you turn it in, you know, instead of talking about me, talking about someone else? Or can you do it differently? And of course, it can be trained to decline certain things. Now, by the way, we're only talking about ChatGPT by OpenAI. There are, and there are going to be other solutions trying to solve the same problem. If you come from the US, you probably had a chance to try on Bard by Google. Raise your hand if you tried it, used it. Some of you have. They don't let us use it in Europe yet, but eventually we will be able to, right? So there's another alternative that will be doing something similar, perhaps not with the same restrictions or limits. Now, be mindful that it gets things wrong. It actually makes stuff up, okay? Because it's predictive. And by the way, it's very convincing in the way that it says it. There was a case that I read about in a lawsuit where a lawyer went to the judge with some examples of cases that supported his point, and it was found that none of them existed. He never checked. It's just that the system understood what the person wanted to get out of it and just made it up. And he went to the point of being in front of a judge, and it caused a really big problem for that judge, right? So be very mindful that not everything that comes back is factual. The other thing is it may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. As with every technology, it depends on who coded it, who created it, and some of those biases, even unconsciously, may be also built in. So be mindful of that as well. And obviously, this one that we're going to use today is only limited to 2021. We have access to ChatGPT 4, which is already updated. And if you're using Bing as a search engine and you connect it, it uses the internet, so you will be able to also have more updated information. This is only temporary, okay? So knowing that, things that we could do with it in our business, and I know some of you have already tried it, right? We were experimenting with this and talking to the team, and we said, let's ask to come up with a private tour of Sagrada Familia. And this is what came out. We're going to do this again, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to improve on what you're getting here. But the system automatically will tell you a possible tour. It knows all the information about Sagrada Familia. It knows who built it. It knows what people like to see when they go, and it will give you a whole plan, a 2-hour plan with all the details. I'm not sure if anyone can read it on the screen, but you can see the details that come out of that, okay? Now, I could have done this whole presentation with artificial intelligence. I could have used ChatGPT for the text, even for the script of every word that I just said. But don't worry, I didn't do that. I could have used Midjourney to use to get images that illustrated what I told you so far. I could have used beautiful AI to create a powerful PowerPoint presentation like the one you just saw. I could have used fireflies.ai, if you haven't tried it, you should, to summarize what I just said and give you a brief summary at the end. Or even I could have used Synthesia to have a virtual version of me delivering this presentation to you. Everything I just said is possible using the tools that are on the screen. Why do you think I didn't do that? Because there's no emotion. That's true. Although if you train ChatGPT and you get the right prompt, it can get pretty emotional. But every one of us, everyone in this room has a zone of genius, is doing something special, especially in the luxury industry that you're in, right? We should not substitute our zone of genius, our contribution by something done by a machine. Never. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying you should stop doing what you're doing and just give it to a machine for them to do it. I didn't do it because I'm here to give you my personal point of view and deliver it to you with emotion and customized and adapted to what you want. In fact, now when I start my classes at ESADE, the business school where I teach, I explain what ChatGPT is in case anybody doesn't know what it is. And I say, from now on until the end of my class, everything you're going to hear here is what you're not going to find on ChatGPT. Because if I'm not able to provide something more than what's already available on artificial intelligence, there's no point of me being there, right? So make sure you always take what artificial intelligence gives you, images, text, and use it to produce more or better, but never to substitute the zone of genius that all of you have. Do not let this take over your businesses, okay? All right, so now that we know this, now we're so lucky to be at a time where this new technology is available to us. Just imagine the new challenges that we can probably solve now that this technology is available to us. This is really where the opportunity is. And more importantly, imagine the new use cases that you can give this technology that you never thought you could do. I'm going to give you an example. I'm not going to give names because she asked me not to share with you, but I think I'm going to share just enough that it will be useful to you. 2 days ago, I was in class, in a digital marketing class, and one of my students told me what she did with ChatGPT and Midjourney and generative AI, and it was fascinating. She owns a little hotel, and she said, it has been a dream of mine for years to create a children's book with the staff in our hotel as the main characters and the different parts of our hotel as the different places where action takes place, and give it to the children that come to our hotel or give it to the parents to read to them. She was able to put that together in a week using generative AI. And she showed it to me, and it's real. And I said, once you publish it, I want to be able to share it because she did something she would have never had the time, the money, the effort to do. But now that it's possible, she went ahead and just did it. Think of all the things that you can now do because this technology is available that will make your business better, but keep the essence of your business. Or even more importantly, free up your time so you can focus on the things that you're really good at by externalizing all these things into the technology. So just to finish up this part, you have 3 choices right now. You can ignore this technology. It's fine. You can. Your business will be around next year and maybe another year or 2, not more. But you can. A lot of people choose to do that, especially here in Spain. A lot of people say, I don't want to know anything about new technologies. I'm happy with the way the world is right now. Well, fine. You can embrace it. Embrace it means what I just said. Just copy what other people are doing. Learn from the use cases that you see. Read about it. Experience it. Experiment with it. Or more importantly, you can also take the lead. Because like I said at the beginning, it's only been 6 months. It's nothing, okay? And if you do take the lead and you do experience things and you put them out, you will be first. And you will take advantage of that opportunity for your own business. It is your choice. So artificial intelligence will not take people's jobs. Forget about that. It will be the people that use artificial technology that are going to take on the jobs of the people that don't. Yes? So do not think that that's going to replace you. It's just that If you use it the right way, you will be the one replacing those that don't. Are you with me? Yes? You want to practice? Yeah? Who wants to show us how to do that? We just set up a computer here so you can actually see how it's done. We're going to start with the example that I put out. So I need someone that wants to volunteer. Okay, what's your name? Juan, come here, Juan. Big round of applause for Juan. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you an assignment. Have you experienced ChatGPT before? Perfect. So he's going to be the one that teaches. I'm not going to be the teacher anymore. What you see on your screen right now is ChatGPT as it is. I did get the plus version just to make sure that it didn't stop working because the free version sometimes is unavailable. So try to get close to a screen so you can see it. But we're still going to use 3.5, which is the most basic version, okay? The one that's available for free to everyone in this room, okay? So the assignment is the example that I showed before. Design a private tour of Sagrada Familia. Juan, do you want to ask ChatGPT to design a private tour of Sagrada Familia? Nothing more? This is what we call a prompt. We go to the system and we just talk to it. You chat with it with our own words. Look how polite Juan is. He's asking, can you ask? Some people actually say please or thank you. It's okay. It's a machine. You don't have to. Okay. He comes back immediately, right? He was smart enough to give it some more information than I asked him. He said in a 2-hour tour. Okay. So now it's going in and it's giving you time by time different options. Okay. Has anyone seen the Sagrada Familia recently? Does that look familiar? It's suggesting the right places, right? Okay, it's almost done. 6 p.m., end of tour. Big round of applause for ChatGPT. But I feel like I'm the founder of ChatGPT presenting the product here. I feel like Steve Jobs. One more thing. No, kidding. So, Juan, do me a favor. Press the button that says regenerate response. Regenerate response will simply try again. Notice how it's different this time. Well, you might have to remember what we saw before. But when you click regenerate, it does the same thing all over again in a different way. This is fascinating because when you ask for something, it doesn't mean that if the person next to you asks the same thing, will get the same answer. In fact, if you don't like the outcome, you can just get a new one, okay? All right, let's stop regenerating. Juan? Okay, there you go. So Juan is saying, can you make it more concise? Because it was long, right? Maybe we just want it for a post on Instagram, that it's not that extensive, right? There you go. So what Juan is doing right now is interacting with it. It's having a dialogue and saying, make it better, make it different. But Juan, here's the challenge for you. What if you want to do something more unique, something that not every tour company will have out there? What can you come up with that would make this request something more special? Can you think of something else? All right, Juan is already typing. He's making it longer. No, but it has to be about Sagrada Familia. It's the same. No, don't change. Remember, the requirement, I'll be with you in a second. The requirement here is, can we get this tour to be something more special? Okay. For those of you that can't read it, can you design a plan for a multi-generational family for people that don't like history and love architecture? Okay. There it is. Of course, here's a suggestion. It's so polite, right? Do we have a microphone for questions? Yeah? I think, can you take it to them? Yeah, thank you. You see the slight difference here? Now, suppose you want to use this on your website, okay? And you want to make it about you explaining it to others, not just giving instructions like it is. You can say, now redesign it as if it was on our website, as a tour that can be booked for a price of such and such. And it will tweak it, and I will change it in the way that you want, okay? Okay, Juan is already going crazy here, asking for more things. Juan, it's okay. Let's see his last suggestion, and then we'll answer questions, and maybe we have time for another one. All right, let's see. Can you merge this into a full day itinerary of Barcelona from 8 to 10, including lunch and dinner in Barcelona at Michelin star restaurants? Check it out. It goes into Casa Milà, Parkway, and it should include Abac as a restaurant. All right, excellent job. Juan, thank you very much. Okay, so what we saw here is that we can have a conversation with it. We can tweak it, we can improve it, and more importantly, we can personalize it, okay? There are a couple of questions here. Please, what's your name?
My name is Flo, FLO. Hello,
FO.
everybody.
Okay.
It's not a question, but I know that ChatGPT likes when we share personal information about the person doing the script or the prompt. So it could be nice if one or you can do the same exercise, but starting like, hey, I'm a former French museum curator, and I'm a solo dad with my children in Barcelona, and blah, and blah, and blah. And now ChatGPT can do something more specific that just, hey, please, can you do me a private tour?
Exactly. Thank you for that contribution. It's true. You can say who you are. Big round of applause, because that was not a question. Yeah, go ahead. Very good point, okay? So you can say, this is who I am. In fact, you can actually upload previous information that you've put out in your own style. You can share. Yeah, you can share what you've done before and say it from my point of view, or say it as if it was me, or as if it was someone else, if it's someone that's been published and we have information about them, right? So every reference that you give about things that ChatGPT knows will enrich and personalize that experience in the way that was described, right? So do not just stop at the simple prompt. Interact, improve, iterate, and then when you're happy with it, then you can publish it. There was another arm going up. Anyone else want to make a contribution or ask a question? Where was that? Here. Okay. We have more microphones here and then here. Right here. Thank you. What's your name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany, I can pronounce that. Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So I guess my, not question, but more of a statement is ChatGPT only goes up to 2021. So how is that going to add or elevate possibly how I use it as a travel advisor when I know more than them after 2021, and adding those special destinations or restaurants or locations or things that just can't be found because they're pulling from general knowledge. What I own as knowledge is never going to be found there.
Exactly.
And it's not going to benefit my clients. So how's that?
Great question. So first of all, why is it only up to 2021? Because this is the earliest, newest, like first version of it. And that's 3.5, the free one you can get. I just paid $24, I think it was. I did it yesterday to make sure we didn't get interrupted. And now I have access to ChatGPT 4, which we can try right now. That one doesn't end at 2021. Number two, it's updated continuously. Two, if you use Bing as a search engine, it uses ChatGPT 4 to respond using the information that's on the internet right now. So that, again, is more updated. And it gives you a reference. And it says, this comes from this website, this comes from this other source, this comes from this, which is very helpful when it makes things up, because at least you know if they got it from somewhere reputable or not, okay? And like I said, this is just the beginning. Bard, which is the solution that Google has put out now as an alternative, obviously being from Google, will not have those limitations. And even ChatGPT eventually will not have this version going on, right? So it's a matter of time. Number two, how does it know about the things that I know that it doesn't know because it's not general knowledge, is what I was referring to before, that you can provide it for it to use that in your response. For instance, another very useful use of ChatGPT or artificial intelligence is summarize a document. So you can actually take on your catalog from the last 50 years and say, explain it in a different way, summarize it, make it an Instagram post, make it a tweet, and it will take that information and do it pretty well. It's like technology now hacked our operating system, which is language. You just can't, it can't go back. Language is no longer exclusive to us. Now machines can use it too. And this is powerful. So let's use it to our own advantage. The good thing about what you said is your information is only yours, so your competition will not be able to use it. And by you providing it to be able to get a better result, doesn't mean that you make it available for everyone else. Okay? Well, this is one of the challenges right now, yes. It actually does learn from us. I can't tell you right now if that information will be available to everyone else.
Of course it will. It's the internet.
But like I said, like I said, if you've published it already and it can take it, eventually it will be fed into the system, obviously.
Great, thank you.
So, you're welcome. There was one more question here. Greg, how are we doing with time? Do we have time for? We're good? Okay, good. 5 minutes. And there's more over there? Okay, we'll continue with questions then. Go ahead.
Would you expect it to grow like Google, that will be advertising on there in a year or something?
Very good question. What's your name? Wendy. Thank you. I have a microphone. I don't need. Thank you. So Wendy says, is this going to be advertising based or not? Okay. Here's something most people don't know. These searches or these interactions have a cost, and they're way more expensive than a Google search, which is one of the reasons why Google didn't put out this first, because Google is very well known. So if they put it out the first day, they're going to have so many requests that the cost will go through the roof. Now, there are 3 different ways to make money as a company like OpenAI or doing something like this. One of them is to charge for every search. It's still 0.001 euro, so it's a small amount. So it makes no sense to pay every time. The second one is a subscription, which is what we have right now. And it's likely that it will be like that for a lot of people. And the third one is advertising. Now, Google chose advertising because there were already a lot of solutions for search, and they figured there would be so many searches that just putting advertising would make it worth it. Advertising is not so appropriate in this case because of the cost. But maybe when everyone is using this constantly and the costs go down, maybe advertising will be a way to make money from this. I think the interesting question too is, how are we as businesses going to persuade these systems to talk about our products instead of our competition, right? And this is still being figured out, and we still don't know what the techniques will be, but it will be very similar to SEO. SEO as the technique to make sure your content shows up first when someone is searching on a search engine. If this substitutes or complements searches as we know them, then it will be very challenging to figure out how we make sure that we are ABAC, the restaurant that showed up when we asked for restaurants. You saw that? Not an answer yet. I'm a digital marketing professor. I will be the first to know, but I tell you right now, even we don't know yet. So thank you for that very interesting question. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Zach from Dublin. And I just my question is, you're talking about something that is very harmless right now. And even in the harmlessness that it is, it can be quite harmful. It can doctor text, it can doctor images, like just create them from prompts. So you could just prompt it to create anything. What's stopping AI from getting to a stage where, used as a tool that you stated is, can be even more harmful to not only, I guess, our business, but just in general?
Well, as every tool, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, which is why there's so many calls right now for regulation. And a first example of that is we don't have it in Europe. They won't even let it get started, because when we talk about privacy and when we talk about the very strict rules we have here about personal information, these solutions right now are not designed to cover all of that. OpenAI was removed from Italy because Italy became very strict about that. They changed a few things, and they're now back in Italy. Google is refusing to adapt to the laws in Europe, so regulation will be a part of that.
I know, but it's like, it's not a foreign concept that huge companies that have access to information abuse it. So this is something that not only are people willingly giving their information, it also learns information from the internet. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is something that we should be concerned about. We should all be concerned about. And like I said, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Think about spam, right? Like those messages we get that we don't want. Now they could be done at scale. Think about bots on Twitter, that are making up information and they're like confusing people. They could be done at scale now. Oh, it's for me? It's not working? Okay, good. So, like I said, it has both sides. It's like a knife. It can cut bread or you can cut your neck, right? So we just have to learn to use it properly and make sure that we put in the safeguards necessary to make sure that it doesn't hurt us. But right now, it's like the Wild West, like it was with the internet when we were younger. We all remember that. And like it was when, new technologies came around. So my point here, and this is the way I'd like you to leave you on thinking about it is an opportunity. It should not replace what you do best, but it should allow you to do things that maybe even today you can't even imagine. So experience it, experiment with it, and share with others. We have time for 2 more questions. Okay. One here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Betty. I just
Betty.
want to, over here.
Where are you, Betty?
So I would say I actually use AI, and I would say how I use AI in luxury travel is more or less, I do it for blogging. I do travel blogs, and to have that SEO grandfathered into the internet is very crucial. So I use for blogs. And I also use it for content. Sometimes you use it for photography, videography, whatever. It's also very good. In terms of, I would say, replacing, you can do chat box, for example, WhatsApp messages. You can integrate AI and it would help you. For example, after hours, when you're not around, you're not 24/7, having a chat box AI would be very critical to your travel game business. So those are the 3 elements I would say or recommend if from a business standpoint, how you can integrate AI into your business. I say those are the 3 important elements. However, I kind of disagree with you in a sense that AI, as any technology, it will always evolve. It won't replace us now, but eventually it will replace us later. It's kind of like with Wikipedia. They don't have the information, it's 1.0, but when you keep feeding the machine, it's going to be 2.0. And then when they have all that information, so what separates us versus AI, I would strongly recommend saying being authentic. Being authentic means AI is not, they've never traveled to a destination before where they can say, I know. You know, because you've been there. You are the expert in that field or that industry or that destination. And that will separate you definitely over AI. So I would just make that statement, but not really a question. So, hey, that's it. Bye.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, one more question. I do have to say I agree with her. So I don't know what part I'd say the opposite, but you do have to keep your zone of genius, your part that you're special, and keep that, right? There's one last question over there. Yes.
Sorry. Hello,
What's your-
I'm Felipe. I'm from
Felipe?
Spain. Just a quick question regarding, it's very related to the statement that she just made. It's a little bit, I mean, the first question that you had was, the information. So what's stopping the client directly from going on ChatGPT and doing all of what you're saying that they should do as travel agents? I'm a supplier here. So I mean, I'm not. That's not my job. But what's stopping the client from doing that and skipping them entirely? And it's one person less. We don't have to pay commissions. Guests get direct information. They don't need to bother talking to anyone on the phone. Yeah.
Service. The answer to that is service, because we've
But
been
what
able
service
to.
that's my question. What service are they giving you that ChatGPT doesn't?
Let me answer that, because the same could have been said when the internet came around and we could search for our own flights and buy them directly, and a lot of people do. So let's be clear about this. A lot of people will use this information directly, just like you described, Felipe, and they will get a lot of information that way. So it will be, what are we doing for those customers? Because a lot of them will still want that service, especially in luxury. They will want that exclusivity of talking to a person that uses that information and provides it to them in a way that they feel special. Emotion, you mentioned emotion before as well, right? So the reason we still have travel agents today is because there's a bit more than just information. It's the way you deliver it and the way you take care of that customer. So I summarize that in the word service. You guys are still very important and people will still always want to deal with people. I'll give you a phrase that really enlightened me in that respect. I forgot who said it recently. I think it was the founder of AI said, machines have been better at playing chess than humans for years. Is that right? You know that, right? Nobody wants to watch two machines playing chess. We want to see humans against humans. In service, it's the same thing. A lot of people still want the personal touch, the authenticity that we just heard. And I think that's what you need to focus on. That will still be valuable now, tomorrow, and the day after. But if we ignore this technology, we will lose out a lot of opportunities. Thank you for that question, Felipe. There was one here. Can I answer this one, Greg? Because I know he was waiting. He didn't have a microphone. I'll give you mine, and then we finish up. One last thing. I will be around. I'm staying for lunch. Happy to talk to all of you and answer all your questions after this.
Hi, I'm Vikram here. Thanks for the great talk. I just wanted to check for the uninitiated, how do you start implementing AI in your businesses? How expensive it is, and is it still the right time because it's a new technology? Normally, the new technology is always more expensive. Probably gets cheaper as time goes on. So, what would be the best time to get into it, and how easy or difficult is it?
Thank you. Great question to finish up, right? How expensive and what should be the first steps, right? Well, you have it on the screen here. You can go there for free and start experimenting with it. But the truth of the matter is, I understand not all of you have the time or the energy or the willingness to research this on your own. So I would say hire people that use this. Remember, it's going to be the people that use this technology that will replace the people that don't. So if you feel like this is a bit over your head or you don't have the time, find someone that's already done something with it and have them work for you and apply it into your business. And it will cost you the time of that person. That's it. Because the technology right now is not costly. And as you said, it's going to be doing more things a lot cheaper. If you use some of the applications that feed off this artificial intelligence, it will have a cost, but it will not be significant. Trust me, especially for someone in the luxury business where the value added that you can provide will definitely justify it. So you have the list of tools that I mentioned. I will give you the presentation. Explore those tools for those that are advanced if you don't know them all, and your mind will be blown and you will do new things that you didn't know were possible before. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to join us, Frank, and thank you for making it so relatable. As Frank said, he's going to be with us, so if you've got any questions, you can catch him over the rest of the day.